Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here with Dr. Daryl Wilson of the Bollweevils, and it's great to be talking to you again.
Yeah, hey, how you doing, Lizzie? Good to see you. Brian, how you? You're looking pretty healthy, all of you. Looking healthy.
We're going to make so many references to every conversation we had before we started recording, and it's going to be for us and for us alone.
They didn't come early.
I'm not going to do
okay.
that. Nope, I'm not going to do that. That's only the Patrons get to see that. So I'm not going to say anything about that.
Patrons. The patrons, sponsored by Monster Energy Drink. Again,
right.
The callbacks. It is a good reference, though, that you're like, let's talk to you again. And meanwhile, like, I know because you and Lizzie have already done an interview previously.
Right.
So I'm technically talking to you for the first time, though I think we met at Riot Fest last year.
Yeah, like in passing when I ran into Lizzie and then you were hanging out too, and I ignored you and talked to her because I didn't know you. So I was like, who are you?
I mean,
it just be that way sometimes.
Everybody who knew Lizzie in press was like, I only want to talk to Lizzie, and I'm just like kind of in the background. It's like 3 feet taller than her. It's just like, whatever. I don't care. Like I'm not even hiding behind her.
No, being ignored completely. But no, it's good to be on the show. I appreciate it. And Lizzie and she had me on. Well, I think I kind of busted into your show. Didn't I kind of bust into the show?
The tale as it goes is that for everyone who doesn't know, I used to run the local radio show at my college radio station, WNC, Local Chaos. And Daryl was able to come in because he's local to my college station.
Yep.
And so, like we did a similar interview, but it was between music because it was live on air. Yeah. So kind of similar, but I was like, yeah, cool, let's go. I love punk music and I listen to you guys and I'm stoked on it. And here we are yet again.
Yeah, Zach from Sleeping Under 47, Zach let us in. Zach's out there making, brewing all kinds of wonderful ciders and things. So he was like, hey, come out and can you come up here? I'm like, sure, I'm right down the block. I guess I can show up. And so I'll go over there. So I kind of ran over and then just kind of busted in and said, hey, I'm here. And you're like, what the? I'm like, hey, how's it going? I'm here to hang out, which was fun, which was cool. It was a good time.
And it all worked out.
It did work out well. I think I wore the same sweater. I only have this outfit.
I think so. I found you guys liked my old photo that I posted of it, and I looked at it and I was like, what if I wore, because I still have my same Misfits sweater. I'm like, what if I wore the same thing?
Nothing ever changes. We're in this loop of time. Nothing ever changes. It's like, what? It's like I'm wearing the same outfit from back then. It's like, because at least I can still fit it, though. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
so
that's a good thing.
That says something about my health and well-being. So, Brian, how's your health doing, man?
It's fine. My health is just okay. My Monster Energy Drink is keeping me on my feet. That's all I got.
Definitely preserved. It's definitely keeping me preserved.
I'm so preserved inside. It's just salt and whatever the hell chemicals are in a Monster. What the hell even is a taurine? Where do you find a taurine out there in the wild?
I feel like you're slowly pickling your insides with it.
Yeah.
Or actually liquefying them.
You're liquefying them. I'm creating pickle juice, I guess.
Yes.
Oh, I don't like any of that.
It sounds like, it's probably closer to that than anything else. So I'm sorry. I hijacked the conversation. I apologize. I'm trying to stop.
I mean, let's go ahead and let you introduce yourself and tell us about you and the Bollweevils and this new record that you just released. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So I'm, Daryl. I sing for the band Bollweevils. We've been a punk rock band for since 1989, which is kind of crazy. We been in the Chicago area for all this time. We've, I guess we're considered a legacy band, which means we're old. Chicago punk rock legacy legends or whatever. We just released this record on May 5th on Red Scare Industry, called Essential. And it's our best work to date. The last thing we put out as an LP was back, 28 years ago. And we did have a 7-inch that we released back in 2014, the Tax Scene 7-inch. And that was, a part of what was put onto this record, those two songs. But then we kind of had a hiatus not even a hiatus. We just had this delay in trying to get our music together and get ourselves together. So we finally got the right lineup. We have the right, formula of who we are, and we became this powerhouse of a band that now has a powerhouse record out. As you might know, I am a physician. I'm an emergency physician. I take care of people at their worst time. And I also, have a family and hang out here in the burbs, but still have opportunities to play punk rock and do that kind of thing that makes my soul feel, full. So I'm just happy to be hanging out here. That wasn't a very good intro about myself. I'm usually pretty good about saying some pretty nice things about myself. But that was a pretty lame ass intro. So I was hoping you guys had more questions. This is already going to hell. So there we go. This is already going to shit. I'm not good at talking about myself, which is a lie, which is a total lie. So yeah.
It's like the musician battle of like self promo, where it's like, I want to be on stage performing this music that I've written, that I've created, that means a lot to me for people. And people are like, oh, tell us about you. And you're like,
Right. I mean, actually I said enough about it during the preview stuff that nobody got to see.
Yeah,
so that's basically your fault. You should have recorded
That's
all
true.
that.
That's true.
So you missed out on the best part of it. I lost it all. I'm old. I'm senile, but the brain is not
Whoa,
working
that's
right.
crazy.
It's just not working right.
Oh my God. But you're not, this old senile doctor, which would
No.
be very ironic because you have also recently, you played and opened with Rise Against, again, like local, also Chicago legends, and you're playing Piazza Fest. I don't know if I pronounced that right at all.
Puza.
This weekend.
Yes.
Which is crazy because you guys came back and I feel like you announced, you're like, hey, guess what? We're here. And I've seen like nothing but just like you guys posting all the time and playing gigs. And I'm like, oh, wow. They just literally said, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
So how has that been?
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, I think you look at, coming out of the pandemic, you look at life and say, what do you really want to do? What are things that you enjoy? And, what are your priorities? And my priorities, kind of revolve around, my family, my health, those things are top priorities. And then, music is in there in one of my priorities. So it's definitely something that makes me feel full. As I mentioned before, it does fill the soul. It doesn't pay the bills, but that's not what this is about. I definitely want to make sure we get some, reimbursement for what we do. So it's not just, coming out of I work for these things, every day, and my kids go, "Hey, Dad, can I have something to eat?" I'm like, "Oh no, that band thing, you had to pay for that." But it's something that definitely fulfills another aspect of living, and why not? Why not do things that you enjoy? I think a lot of people inhibit themselves from taking chances or doing things that might be outside of the norm, they think, or at least they think they limit themselves in some ways. And I've never wanted to live with limits in that sense. I mean, limits are what you place on yourself. Other people can't tell you what you should be limited to do. That's the worst thing. They take away all your power. So, I just want to live and enjoy and have experiences, because that's going to matter in the end. Not all the toys you collect or all the things you get. I mean, it's going to be the experiences you have with people. And so, yeah, our opportunities to play with, our friends and Rise Against. I've known Joe Principe forever. He's one of my best friends. He's like one of my brother, basically. And, those guys, Tim, those guys would come see us play back in the day. And Zach, when he was in Hagfish, we were recruiting his band to be on Doctor Strange way back in the day, and Brandon's just a great dude. It's like all those guys, we know them. And it's just like kind of being invited to play with your friends is cool. That's what shows were, and that's what shows always are, is the opportunity to hang out with your best friends and play some music and hopefully entertain some people. And then having the Smoking Popes play, the next night, and Kalamasi play. It's basically an old home week of all of our friends playing, Chicago guys getting up there and just doing it. So it was an amazing experience. It was awesome to play in front of, play at the Metro, which is the mecca of all music here in Chicago and in the world. It's one of the greatest venues on the planet, one of the last independent venues on the planet, by the way, which is really cool. And, our first show, my first show in the Bollweevils was at the Metro, back, at their 9th anniversary gala event. And we opened up for Naked Ray Gun of all bands, which was our, big influence. And, have the opportunity to play the Metro for their 40th, anniversary, and to play with Rise Against, which we played with them on their 10th anniversary as a band. It's kind of like an amazing thing that we as a Chicago legendary band can have this opportunity to be back in that place that we played at back in the day, and have all of our friends there, and then play in front of this crowd that many people may have not known who we were. People did, but other people may have never experienced us, and see what, Chicago punk rock is all about. And, we're always going to bring that kind of level of action and excitement and fun, and just put our hearts out there and play our best. And so, yeah, it was a great experience. And now having other opportunities to play shows with the new record out, playing at Pooza Fest coming up, or playing on Saturday. So we fly out tomorrow morning. And then, our record release show, the 27th of May, at Chop Shop in Chicago, which everybody should go to that. It'll be fun. The Dopamines are playing, and, Reaganomics and Butchered, and it's going to be a great show. It's really good to just be out there having the time to enjoy entertaining people and entertaining ourselves, and putting our music out there and having people listen to what we're doing. You can't trade that. That's what life's about, is making sure that you're experiencing things as to the highest level, and that's what we're doing right now.
It strikes me as interesting about playing in front of some of these new audiences, obviously because of like this massive resurgence of a lot of old music, a lot of bands from back in the day, and a lot of like new discovery of these bands that maybe haven't played in a long time, haven't been together, haven't made any new music in a long time. Have you seen some of that with like some of the old punk bands and the legendary punk scene in some of these places? Or I guess, how has TikTok helped your band?
I don't think TikTok has helped my band in any way, shape, or form. I did something for Riot Fest and they put it on their TikTok, but if you asked me to post something on TikTok, it'd be a zero. It's like, I think Ken, our guitar player's kid, posted something for us, I think, one time, but it's like, has it helped us? No. I think that music gets discovered in a lot of different ways, and I know that there's many different mediums to expose people to your band. And yes, you have to go to where they are, and that's where a lot of people are. And so we have to become more savvy in the use of some of these other mediums. But I do think that people still go through some of the old-fashioned means, that people will talk to people about it or post it themselves and say, wow, this is something I heard and this is really good. I think good things always rise. And right now I think our record is really, really good. And it's gotten buzz, and people are talking about it, and people are listening to it. And there is this, want to discover kind of this, what is the origins of some of this stuff that people listen to old school punk rock. But I don't think our stuff sounds dated in any way. That's the thing I think is really, unique to our record, is that I don't think we ever sound dated. Even our older stuff doesn't sound dated. It sounds like something you'd hear today. And so it is something you can hear today. And our style of playing, though we've matured in some senses, it's something that people hear and they go, wow, that's good. It's punk. It's something that, I want to, listen to the whole record straight through. I want to, destroy my living room because of this record. And so I think that's the thing. Bands are coming back and playing and having this revitalized, want to write new things. Sludgeworth is out there working on new songs. They're buddies of ours from way back in the day, and they're coming back and they're killing it, which is great. And and then you see some of the old veterans of punk rock, look at Keith Morris, who's still, killing it with Circle Jerks right now, and then Off, it's like that's what you want to see. That's what I aspire to be, it's like, if Keith can do this, I want to be Keith. He's my hero, that's the stuff that I want to do, so I think that, there's playing in front of new people is always great, because it's having that discovery that somebody goes, this band I saw, and it's like, this is great. And having older people still coming out to see shows and see us play is awesome too. So it is trying to find a way to get new people to hear us, because we can play to our fans all the time, which we love to, because it's fun. But adding to that is great. Having, the kids of some of the people that would come to see us be fans of the band is cool. We played at Fest, and this guy walks up and says, "Hey, Daryl, it was awesome to see you guys play." And he brought his son. His son's like 20 something. I'm going, wow, that's full circle. You get the dad and his kid who are there watching us, and they're both fans of the band, which is really, really cool. And then at that same moment, I felt crushingly old at that point, which is the thing. So, because the reality sets in where you go, my God, I'm seeing you and your son, and then they might bring their kid, and you could be the grandfather and your son and your grandkid, and I'm still playing. So welcome to me, Mr. Lazarus over here.
I mean, like, I definitely get that. And I think too, with like a lot of your older stuff, I was listening to Essential, and I think it's still that raw punk, but it does sound more like, oh, I know you did this in like a studio setting, but it also gave me this modern-ish sound that does kind of remind me of some of like Rise Against a little bit, but still under like 2 minutes, which is obviously like the punk way to do it. So when you were kind of constructing Essential and like a lot of these like different songs on here, what was going through your mind in terms of like evolution from when you guys started 28 years ago, which is, I was born 28 years ago
Chill.
till
Settle
now.
down, Lizzie. Chill.
I mean, I think the big thing that helped to evolve the sound is we took our time. And I think what it used to be, we'd all do our part and come into the studio, we'd all record, and we'd be like, that's my part and I'm done. And we'd pride ourselves on just do it in one take and be done with it, not really take the time to do other takes or to maybe play it again because you could play it better. It's like if you played it and you thought you were satisfied with it, it's like you're good. And so then you put it out there, and then later on you go, you could have done that differently, could have done that better. And you can't pull that back once it's put down and out for general consumption. So, this time we took our own sweet time to make it right. We worked as a unit. We took criticisms from each other, and we didn't take them in a negative way. We didn't suddenly just react negatively when somebody says, "Hey, can you redo that part?" or "Can you change the way you're singing that?" We let the songs mature before we actually recorded them, instead of just saying, "We got this song down, let's go record it now." So it's growth from the standpoint of having, been around for a long time, heard our old stuff, and then sometimes looked back and said, that was good at the time. Why didn't we take more time to make it better? And, this process was definitely took the time that when the songs were written, we were playing them live for a long period of time. And then we finally got to a point where we felt that the song was finally at its pinnacle. And then we took it to the studios and recorded it. And some of the songs we've been playing for 8 years, we've been playing them for that time, and they still weren't ready to be recorded. And once we got to the point where we felt, this is it. And even then, we were even in the studio taking criticisms from Jeff Dean when he was recording us and saying, "Hey, change that a little bit. That should sound this way." And we're like, "Oh yeah, I guess you're right." And then getting it mixed by Chris Beeble at the blasting room, that took it over the top. And it's like it made our sound the way we always wanted to sound, and brought it up to a modern day, iteration of us. And we left the recording studio satisfied with what we recorded, saying that that's our best right now. We don't need to think about it. We don't need to worry about it. Whatever we put out there is out there, and we're satisfied with it. So, yeah, we grew a lot, from heavyweight to now. And heavyweight's a great record. Don't get me wrong. Way back, last record LP from 28 years ago, heavyweight's a great record. And, but this is now our best. And it's great because people who are old fans of ours hear it and they're like, awesome. Then new fans hear it and go, this band's awesome. And then they might go back and discover the old stuff too and go, this band's still awesome. So which is good.
I definitely think like it's always interesting to me I'm kind of on the outside of punk rock. Like I grew up as more of like a metal kid, and it always felt like when I was growing up, I'm older than Lizzie, so I was at least around during the time when you were starting out. But it was always like, oh my God, my dog won't stop barking. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. So it was always like, man, all these like punk records just don't sound good. They sound like they were recorded by like just some guy in his garage. And it just, the songs might be okay, but I have a really hard time listening to them because of just how it sounds, So
yeah,
that was always a struggle for me to get into punk rock, was just like the recording and all that too. So
and there's it's funny though. There's a throwback now to people to try and sound almost lo-fi on things in some sense, which is cool. And I think that I listen to like old stuff. I'll go listen to some old Government Issue and things like that. And, those are some of my favorite bands. And yeah, the recordings might not sound up to, the recordings of today. But I mean, those things still have their place and their importance. And that sound is a part of what makes it so gritty, so dangerous, so, like underground and something that's hidden from consumption of other people. So you had to have, this almost inside track to say, yeah, listen to this, and then realize what was happening and how it was so good. Maybe it wasn't recorded as well as, things are now. Everybody's got the ability to do so many things to the recordings, but our stuff is still pretty raw. That's what it comes down to. It's still recording it as it is and trying to make it as live as possible. And that comes from what we used to listen to. Everything you heard back in the day was raw, taken, just dirty. And that had its own personality to the records as well as you listen to them. And like listening on vinyl, that's the thing too. Listening to things on vinyl and hearing it versus things being transferred to digital medium like a CD, definitely a change in how things sounded. And I still have that visceral, warm sensation when you listen to something on vinyl, that still crackle that you get, that you can't get on, a digital medium. But yeah, I mean, is it convenient to hear things digitally and you had to make sure that things sound, it fill that space, right? Yes, it's going to make people have an ear towards that, I guess all of us old guys grew up listening to things that may have been recorded pretty poorly. So it makes us go like when something is like, oh, that sounds great. And you're like, God, that sounds horrible. It's like, what are you talking about? This is perfect. And it takes outside people sometimes to say, maybe you should listen to that again because it doesn't sound good. So you're like, oh, okay. All right.
It can be nostalgic for sure. And obviously like a friend of mine he decided to get into vinyl recently. And I was like, wow, what a decision to make in your mid to late 30s of like, I've decided it's done. I'm getting into vinyl. And he's
a vinyl guy now.
He's a vinyl
that's his
guy.
New identity.
He's like looking at record store day releases. It's like, this is a really strong, like day one to the next day. Like you're a completely different person about vinyl, but it's like also just like sitting there and listening to a record and like getting really invested in the songs. And like, you're not focused on anything else. You don't have your phone. Right. You're not driving. It's just, I'm listening to the music and I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But if I was like hearing a record that didn't sound good, I'd be like, yeah, I don't think the vinyl's going to help me feel this more.
But it's like the thing about having a vinyl is like you get having the sleeve of the record and looking at the art and then the liner notes and the lyric, everything that's in it, and then the feel of the vinyl and, you know, if the vinyl's colored or anything that's like etched on it, you know, and then it does take stillness and concentration to focus on the recording when you have vinyl. You know, when you have something that is, you know, digital and you can just skip away, it's like you may never really find those other deep cuts that you really would like of the band. You know, you don't have the chance to really absorb it in some sense. Yeah, I mean, it's easier to have, 10 million songs on your mobile device to be streamed and played, you know, for you, which is awesome. I love that. I love the convenience of having that, to listen to one of my favorite bands and, you know, stream their stuff. That's cool. But yeah, the ability to absorb a band and really fall in love sometimes with them in some sense, vinyl takes patience. Vinyl takes, you know, an ability to sit still and really be concentrating on what you're listening to. And you have to be physically involved because you have to flip the record to get to the other side. So that, I think, has its merit in some sense. And it's cool that your friend is now falling into that, you know, appreciation of music in that way. And it's not to be like, you know, there's so many people out there that are also vinyl snobs and things like that. I'm not anything like that. It's just that I understand that when I grew up, listening to music was this thing of getting the 12-inch of this one and then the mix of this, or, you know, the special, European import of that, and finding all these little gems, then listening to the record and then listening to the B-side and realizing, oh my God, this B-side track is fire. This thing's the best. And, you know, finding the 7-inch that was released of, you know, the single, but then the backside of the single had this other song that you wouldn't get on the album. And you're like, that's cool. And, you know, finding one of those songs to be your favorite. And then when you go see the band live and they play that song, you're like, I can't believe they're playing this, you know, it's that kind of stuff. So it's cool. I mean, the vinyl experience and the digital experience, it's all gravy. I mean, it's all music, right? It's all music. And whatever way you can get into music and discover it is grand. I just hope that people, you know, discover us and fall in love with us in that way, which they should, because we're lovable. We're a lovable band and we're awesome. That's how that goes.
And that's why the kids will find you one day on TikTok.
Right. I'm going to do a TikTok after this whole thing's over.
Yeah, we're making it happen.
This entire thing is actually just going to be a TikTok, and then it's just going to be your latest single layered underneath it, and people are going to be like, it's under 2 minutes. Mm-hmm.
Right. You know, it's there, you know, Daryl be like this. Listening to the Bollweevils is like this.
Or you'll end up, I think what's been funny is that there's a few like creators on TikTok, as there are many of them. They'll be like, oh, look at, like, listen to this old band that you like forgot about. It's like, here's the MGMT. I'm like, what do you mean? It's MGMT.
Right.
They're still played very actively on the radio. They're touring. What do you mean? Well, you will end up on one of those. And I'm going to be like, what do you mean? They're still here.
Lifespans of things are very, very shortened now. It's like we're in some weird time warp thing that makes everything have a lifespan of only maybe 40 seconds. We're like mayflies, whatever. You survive for a day and you're gone. It's like, yeah, the life of the mayfly, you're done. It's like, yep, lifespan short. That's it.
So I want to ask you about this, because obviously, like, in the world of a band, you're like, I want to have as many people listening to me as possible. And I think that, like, a lot of especially young bands go, we're going to be the biggest band in the world. We want everybody listening. We want millions of listeners, millions of followers. We want to play the biggest stadiums. But, like, in reality, you really, like, you'd probably be fine if you had like 1,000 people at a venue, right? Like, that's
God, that'd be amazing,
right? And then, like, obviously, because you have your life outside of the band, the band is part of your holistic experience of your life. This is how I say it for myself. I'm like, I podcast as part of the holistic experience of my life, and everyone's like, dude, fuck off. You have a podcast. We get it. Shut up. But, like, as you have your full-time gig as a doctor, you have your family, and you have the band. It's like, do you still feel like you need millions of people listening to your band, or is it more like the more you have in your life, the more it's like the small audiences that are listening to me mean more because it's more of a strong connection to each person that's listening to me.
Yeah, I mean, you want to play in front of as many people as you can. You want people to experience your music, and that's the thing. You want to touch as many human beings as possible. I mean, not physically, but you want to make sure musically touch them. And so, you want that. I mean, there's limits to that too. I mean, my profession limits my exposure, right? So I can't go out and tour, 200 days a year. I can't do that. It's an impossibility. So it does limit the ability to get exposed to a larger swath of fans. Now, internet and the ability for things to be spread in a viral manner that way helps in some sense, because you can have people listen to you or see you in a way that isn't in a virtual way, and not necessarily having to see you physically as a band. So I think that's given opportunities for bands to have a longevity that may have not garnered for bands way back in the day. And so you always want to get new people to listen to you. You always want to play in front of, bigger crowds and have new people discover you. I mean, the opportunities at the Rise Against show are a good example of that. But does it make or break me? Right. It's not this doesn't pay the bills. It's not the thing that I have to have a certain number of followers or a certain number of listeners to make sure that my kids get to eat or, get a pair of shoes on their feet instead of wearing, potato sacks. It's like that. So it doesn't have the same, anxiety-inducing hit about it. I just can play it for the pure love of just doing it versus making it into a job. So I think that's important to me. But like I said, what it does for me is it pays me back in dividends because it allows me to have experiences that are, going to be talked about till I die. So, I guess I guess I avoided your answering your question. No, do you want new fans all the time? You do. Do you really put it into the reality that you're going to be playing in front of millions of billions? It's like people who are great at sports. And, you're a great ball player. You can beat everybody in your neighborhood. You can beat people at your high school. And then you go up these levels and you keep going up and you realize you run into people that are way better than you, or they have other opportunities that are different than you. And your goals in your head might have been like, I'm going to be a baller and play in the NBA. But it's like, maybe not. Maybe you're going to be a high school basketball coach, and that's still going to be good enough to give you your opportunity to use the skills that you have and the talents that you have and do something that you love and still get to, get compensated for it in some way and live your life. Or you may be that lucky person that gets to play in the NBA, but maybe you're not going to be, a LeBron James. You're not going to be that guy. You're going to be a swing person who does their work and gets their job done and plays for their years and goes out. As a football player, you might play for 3 years because you're going to get injured and then be done, and that's your career. But you got to do that. You got to experience that. So, do I like where we sit? Yeah, it's great. Would I like to have more? Of course. Are there going to be limitations to what I can actually obtain? Of course, only because of the other things that I do in my life every day.
I feel like that's a solid answer. Like being realistic of it all, but also being like, I'm happy with where it is, and I'm also realistic of what things kind of come out of it.
And with things get bigger, it's great. I mean, whatever opportunities happen. It's the philosophic, stance of, amor fati. You got to love your fate, and just whatever it is, you got to love it. If it's indifferent to it all, it's just you love your fate. You love what's going on. You love everything, and just go. That's really cool. I get an opportunity to go play in Montreal, tomorrow, and I get to fly out and play on Saturday. That's really cool. I can't complain about that. Do I complain like, oh God, we're only playing like poos and blah? It's like, No, that's really cool. That's really cool. It's like if you listen to yourself talk half the time, some of the problems you might have are really champagne problems. Like your problems are like, how cold is that champagne? Oh, it's not cold enough. It's not down to 54 degrees. Oh, it's like, that's not a problem. That's not a real problem. So, your fake problems just need to be left alone and just give it up, man.
Yeah, it's kind of just what I see from the internet. It's just like, I think it like when I was starting a band and I wanted to do music, it definitely felt like I was doing it for the purpose of making it a career. And I felt like there were different choices I was making because I was thinking to myself, no, I need this to be a band that I'm in for a lifetime. Like I need this to pay the bills. I'm not going to have a backup plan. And now I have a podcast. So that didn't happen and work out that way. And I think it's just like, I also kind of wonder about like the Chicago scene in general. Like, I never played the Metro and you played it on your first show and I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, but then what happened after that? We didn't play the Metro after that for a while. We had to come back. We had to build it back up. We had a taste of that. And it's like, if you really want this, you work hard to get it. And we did. And we got to play it after that multiple other times. So, there opportunities to do things. I've had a robust life experience, and, I wouldn't trade it for anything, even whatever experiences happen, they've made me into the guy I am today. And the opportunities I've had have all come out of whatever adversity has been perceived in the past too, whatever obstacles are there. And I think that, when you talk about like backup plans, you mentioned that. I guess in some sense, I always wanted to be a physician, and that there was 100% I was going to do that. I didn't have a backup plan for that. When I was going to match for residencies, I only put in 4 residencies to match for, and people are like, you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that because this is the place I want to go to. You dive in 100%, and if you have no backup plan, you won't kind of fall back on it when the times get tough. You're just going to work hard to get to what you want. If you really want that goal to, I want to be in the band I want to be in the Menzingers. I want to be in this band. I want to play in front of this many people. I want to be Keith Morris. I want to play like here. And so I could do that if I really put my mind to it. But I know what I really want. I like what I do with the band. And if more things happen, so be it. I will take them. But I know where my bread is buttered, and it's buttered from what I do here as a physician. The supplemental part of it is the band's the other part of my life. And if I took it and said the band was only going to be in my life, then I'd be talking to you and saying, hey, you guys just played, these festivals in Europe. You did this, which we could still do that. We've done it, but you guys played in front of 100,000 people and did this. How was that show? Oh, it was awesome. It was great. But it's my job, and I have to work to do that. I can purely do this out of the fun that it is. And if you, and in any way, whenever you're doing anything, if you're not having fun, then why do it? You have to really ask yourself that, if it just becomes a job because you just have to do it to, punch the clock and go in, then go do something else to do that. You could do something 10 times easier to punch the clock and instead of like suffering your body and lack of sleep and traveling all over the place. So I think ultimately, whenever you're doing anything, whatever you're pursuing, if it's not enjoyable, you have to ask yourself, why do you do it? And if you continue to do it, you can't bitch about it. You really can't. You have to just accept it and go, I choose to go do this. So I have to accept it, and I should shut my yap and just do it.
No, I definitely agree. I'm a big proponent of if I don't like a job I'm in, I will try to find an exit strategy or right. If it works, it works. But then it's like, okay, how do I monitor in that area until I can leave? Or it's like, camel's breaking point at that point.
Yeah.
But it's like, especially that, like, you're doing this to sustain yourself. You're doing this to live. You're doing it for most of your life, which, there's a whole bunch of other argumentation and debate about that we're not going to get into. But I feel like thoroughly, then you should really enjoy what you do then.
Right.
Like, otherwise I don't feel like you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be playing in this band if I didn't enjoy it, right? If it wasn't something that was fun and all of us together having a good time, then we wouldn't do it. It's like, that's the thing. And I think that also gets translated out and people can understand that, where they look at us and go, they're having a great time. I'm going to have a good time. That's what it is. People want to enjoy what they're doing. You don't go to a show and want to see people who are playing who really don't care about what they're doing. You can tell. If a band's really like phoning it in, you're like, God, they were horrible. It's like, what is this all about? It's like, but bands could play all the notes incorrectly on their songs. But if they're having a great time, you're like, this was awesome. That was so cool. And that's what you want to have. You want to have an experience when you go to a show. I mean, did you go to G.G. Allen shows to go listen to the Murder Junkies play? No, you wanted to see him, shit on the stage and throw it at you and try and burn himself. I mean, that's what people did. It wasn't because of the music. And the Murder Junkies were actually pretty good. I mean, they were actually a pretty good band. So, I mean, but that's not why you went. That's not why you went to the show.
You went for the shock value
You went for
of it all.
You went for the show beyond the show is what you went for.
I was looking at your Facebook and stuff to get prepped for this interview, and I'm like, damn, these videos that you posted of the show at the Forge, like, it just looks like you're having a fucking blast. Yeah.
That show. I think my parents showed up to that show. My mom and my stepdad, and my mom had never ever seen us play live, and it was their anniversary too, which is crazy. My mom had never seen us play live. She's seen us on videos and stuff like that, but she's never come to a show, and so she came to the show, and it was awesome. It was really cool. So, I mean, that didn't make us play any different than we did. We acted the same we always do, but it was cool to have my parents there. It was awesome. But we have a good time all the time. And if you're not having a good time on stage, then it's not genuine. Nothing comes out genuine. And I think every opportunity that we have to go to, play, we have to take it up and go, this could be the last time you play. So enjoy it. Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, I definitely think that, like, we saw that with everything when everything happened and shut down with the pandemic. It's like, some of these bands that disband and we will never see them play live again. Or they came back and they said, all right, we're going to do one more show or one more tour. And then, like, that's it. And it's only in this one spot that, like, 75% of the other fans are not going to be able to get to.
Right.
So I think that's, like, a really, like, amazing philosophy to kind of, like, just go in and, like, I think just to, like, navigate your life in. Because it just means that you're optimizing the good vibes that you want to have. And then hopefully, like, everybody else around you wants to have those similar vibes.
Right. I mean, anybody can come in and take the room down. It's like it takes a little effort to make the room come up. It's like whatever you add to the equation is what you add to the equation. If you want to come in and tear it all down, then go ahead and do that. But, I've done that. I'm not saying I'm some stage person. I've done that. I've gone into places and just brought the room down, and I can do it in a heartbeat and do it. And, it only reflects upon me that I'm the shitty person. That's what it is. It doesn't, I'm the shitty person that made the situation really shitty. So it's like, why is the situation so bad? It's because of me. And, you can't even see it. But, you have to try and sometimes flip that around and be like, is it worthwhile for me to open my mouth? Is it worthwhile to do anything about it? It's like, you know what? Just accept it. You're here. It's all good, man. It's got to be good. It's all good, man. It's like, that's what it is. Just like, let it be, let it ride, and just go.
Brian, I didn't know if you were going to say something.
No, you are. Sorry. I keep checking on my dog because every time I say something, I think he like hears me and he starts barking. And so I'm like, Lizzie,
is he one of those dogs that can sense medical ailments? Is he hearing something?
Yeah,
no,
he's ready to save you right
Here's
now.
The thing.
He has that little barrel tied to his neck. Ready?
No,
See? He's ready.
Yes, I swear to God. I was legitimately like looking to get a dog, and I was very much like kind of on the fence of it. And I was watching this video, and it's like, yeah, dogs can like sense and smell like some dogs have been able to smell cancer. And I'm like, I'm not worried about it, but that would definitely make me less worried about it.
Let your dog sniff your neck, and let's see what your dog does when he sniffs your neck.
No, I'm gonna keep him far away from me.
Actually, this is the medical exam of the podcast. This is like the segment of it.
I would doctor patient confidentiality on the podcast, please.
Have you been losing weight recently? Is your hair falling out? Anything like that at all?
No,
recently?
I've been working out, but that's all.
Just making sure.
You're still drinking that Monster, though.
No, I've finished the Monster. It's gone.
And if I don't want to look at your neck too, there's a thyroid nodule there, and see what's going on. If your dog sniffs it and sees what happens, and
it should be good.
That dog might save your life. That dog could be your lifesaver.
Yeah.
I hope he is, because right now he's my life annoyance, but he's a puppy. He's only like 5 months old, so he's.
Well, yeah, that dog needs all your care.
I know.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But he needs to know when I have to do a podcast.
So you just bring him on the pod and you just pick him up.
I
like,
wish.
here you
I
go.
would love to have him like in the corner here, just like chilling. We could have a little camera on him so he could join the call. But
My dog would do that if I let him in, but he's like almost 3 and he weighs 75 pounds.
Oh my
He
God.
would sit on my lap. So he would do it. He would sit on my lap and he'd sit right here and look at you guys and be like, well,
adorable.
this is really good. And see, dogs are adorable. They are. They're wonderful.
They're excellent.
wonderful
I mean,
creatures.
he's a really good boy. He just wants my attention a lot.
Of course.
and
Yeah.
Of course.
I work from home, so it's like I'm literally giving him attention all day, and I think that's the problem. Is now I have to give him a little less attention so that he starts to understand. Like, no, I have to go and do stuff. It can't always be me and you hanging out in the room together.
But the dog only understands it. But you're here all the time, dude. Like you're like.
He's like, we're
yeah.
besties. We live
Right.
together. This is
You're
a
here
sitcom.
all the time. It's like why would you ignore me now?
I know it's like 50% of what I wanted, so I got to like start working from a coffee shop a couple days a week and just get out of the place. And
Maybe you need a robotic dog and not a real dog.
Oh my
well,
God.
he's already here. I can't make him a robot now.
Right.
I did name him
you
after
can't.
a cyborg ninja, though. So there's that.
Well, see, you're 50% there. See,
He's
look at
halfway.
that.
Yeah.
You're 50% there. You're
In the
50%
future, he's going
there.
to be a real badass. But right now,
What
he's
ninja? What cyborg ninja was his name ever? Ninjak or something? What's his name?
his name is Raiden. He's named after
Ninja, the like from Ninja Gaiden or something,
No.
or Raiden, or what is it?
There's well, I know the Mortal Kombat one. It's spelled the same way, and everybody thinks that's him because I say,
Oh.
he's named after a video game character. They're like, yeah, the guy from Mortal Kombat. And I have to go, no, it's the main character of Metal Gear Solid 2. Everybody
yeah, there
really
you go.
hated it when it came out, and they were like, why am I not playing as the cool guy? I'm playing as this like girly dude who just does flips all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to name my dog after that guy.
Yeah, I should remember that Metal Gear Solid 2. I remember that game when it came out. I do. I was
It's my
there.
favorite game series. I'm like, I just got to name him something. I wanted to be at the dog park and I wanted to shout his name and I wanted someone to go, damn, that's cool. Like, that's a cool dog.
Why don't you maybe like Solid Snake and put a box over him and have him
Yeah.
hide him spots and things like that, so you can't find him.
Colonel.
All right.
Oh no, not getting
I
the
won't.
Colonel back on stream.
I won't do the Solid Snake impression, but I'll let Lizzie ask the next question so I can stop making noise and he'll stop barking in the background for a minute.
So to hark back to what we were talking about before we were recording, as
Yeah.
we've been doing here and there, we obviously talk a lot about like Chicago local legends, but we were talking about also from the hometown that both, adopted hometown, but both of us basically, how we have a lot of punk bands
Yeah.
and pop punk bands that come here and then
Say
nobody
the name
ever
of the
wants to talk
town.
about.
Say it. Say the name of the town with your whole chest. Let the people know what town we're talking about, Lizzie.
Naperville, you can say it.
Yeah.
Naperville.
You
I
can
was
say
trying to be
Naperville.
like, yes, let's do it and intro it.
You know, you can say it.
No, I thought Lizzie was kind of avoiding it slightly out of it's like.
No, I was trying to like intro it to toss it.
I see.
I mean,
see.
you've got, AM Taxi, you've got Lucky Boys Confusion, you've got, us, got me from the Bollweevils. I mean, you got Chicago members. I mean, that's the thing. You've got, Jeff Pizzotti is from out here, from Naked Ray Gun. 30 Seconds Deep back in the day, all these bands. I mean, it's like there's all kinds of fun that comes out of the Western burbs, So you could go farther out and go to Elgin and start talking about, Slapstick and the Lawrence Arms and, new bands like the Usuals and things like that, or talk about Tricky Dick from back in the day, the Four Squares, all these bands that were out from the Western burbs. And it's like, it's cool that, even the Chicagoland area has kind of its own, regions when you have, punk and how it sounds and how you can tell that a band's from a certain region, bands that are from, Addison versus bands that are from, Elgin area, like I mentioned, that's kind of had a lookoutish kind of jawbreakery sound. And then you've got, all these Chicago bands that sound more buzzsaw guitar-y and industrially sounding in some senses, kind of like us and Naked Ray Gun and Effigies and Peg Boy, things like that. So it's cool. I mean, we're all just Midwestern, right? So even when you go farther out and you go to like Minnesota and, Detroit and, even you consider Ohio, you get all these bands that kind of have this similar sound. Indiana, all of us have this Midwestern homegrown kind of sound. Hell, I mean, you think about most, emo bands. It's like the Midwest is where all that kind of grew. I mean, you get, bands like Braid and, when you go back to even farther with Friction and Gage and all those guys that came out of that started all this stuff up. It's like, that's where, we have this unique thing of being between both coasts and, having our own influences of what we do here. Maybe the winters make us have this problem as well too. But the Midwest has its own kind of unique kind of sound to it. And then I was having a conversation about this just the other day, that a lot of areas that aren't on the coast, like you don't have, New York and that area versus, LA and California. And then you have all these areas that are in between, and, Florida and Colorado and all these places. A lot of people gravitated towards, these different areas to kind of have influences for their bands. And many people pick Chicago as their biggest influences, where they had, love for Pegboy and Raygun and Us and then, Apocalypse Hoboken and the Smoking Popes and all those bands. And that's cool, Screeching Weasel, the Vindictives, Oblivion, all those bands. And that's kind of cool that the Midwest has this draw of people coming to it and people from outside of the Midwest looking to us to kind of influence them, which is cool. So we have our own unique thing. And a lot of us had influence from the East Coast and the West Coast and hearing all these things and then making it into our own sound here. So yeah, I mean, Naperville has a lot of, punk rock legends that came out of it.
I will also throw in Callie Mossy.
Yeah, Callie Mossy, yes.
I went to high school with Sam and John.
Yes.
We interviewed them, and I got into the call, and they're like, "Did you go to this high school?"
Yes.
And I'm like, "Why do you look familiar?" Like, because we went to high school together. I'm like,
we were just talking about that at the Rise Against show. So we were talking about that, the Naperville stuff. It's like, you're still in Naperville? I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, it's listen, we keep putting people out there, I guess, despite all the bad rap that it gets,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
listen, I think, what the bad rap comes from, this is how you get the punk music, is that you have problems that are there, and then you write the songs about it, and then it's a circle effect.
There are problems.
Here we
There are problems everywhere. Nobody's exempt.
Yep.
Nobody's exempt. We're like the city on the Globex city on The Simpsons. And the Globex, if you ever watch The Simpsons, there's an episode where Homer gets a job with Globex and they go to the town, and it's like that's Naperville. Basically, that's what it is.
It's I mean, punk especially is a music that's made out of
I'm joking. I love my town. I'm not going to sit there and disparage it because it's too easy. It's like, it's punching down. It's like too easy to do that. It's like so lame. Oh, my hometown, blah blah blah. It's like whatever. I like my town.
Listen,
it's
we're not
fine.
all a day to remember. Let's calm down.
Right. It's all good. It's fine.
Punk is like, I'm from here and I'm going to try to make a change. And pop punk is like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And they're from a much nicer place than anyone who wrote a punk rock song.
Right.
It's like a meme that's been going around where it's like pop punk bang is like, I got to get out of here. And then it's like a $3 million McMansion that they're trying to leave. And it's like, dude, your life is fine. What are you trying to leave?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they're missing something. I don't know. They're missing something there's something in their heart that's missing. I don't know what it is. And then, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not I mean, I like pop punk to listen to it, but I don't play in a pop punk band, so I don't understand it. I don't know. I'm old, not pop.
I'm staying in this hometown, not leaving.
Not leaving,
Right.
We're fine.
Yeah. I mean, we moved away and came back. It's like, what do you do? It's like, okay, what's that all about? You get older and you're like,
They all end up like, I think Chicago especially, it feels like.
What it is, it's like, every punk rockers, talks about, School of Hard Knocks. I mean, I can't send my kids to the School of Hard Knocks. That's what it is.
Yes.
So they got to go to
You're like, I
a better
went
school
here and I
district.
did have a good time. And now my kids
Yeah.
don't really need to go there. So,
Where are you from? School of Hard Knocks, man. Where's your kids going? Oh, they're going to the prep school down the corner.
Because that shit sucks.
we had to go uniform shopping.
Yes. They have braces on their uniform, though, and spikes. Because my kid's hardcore.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Punk rock
Yep,
kids.
exactly.
It'd be like the hard knocks that they have is that they have metal brace instead of Invisalign.
Right.
That's where
Right.
you humble them.
Lord. That's the humbling we're doing.
Yep.
It does feel like of all the places where people are like, I'm going to go back to there. You know, it's like Chicago and the Midwest does feel like that city where people are like, even when they move away, like to an LA or to a New York, they're like, yeah, but I still feel like that Chicago draw. And that, like, I was mostly just thinking of like Fall Out Boy, and there's like, yeah, we still love Chicago. And it's like, y'all live in LA, except for Andy, who I still think lives in Milwaukee or somewhere in Wisconsin. So it's like, yeah, you're all in LA now, but you're like writing songs about Chicago, and it's like, can't leave it. Can't get away from it.
Yeah, you can't. There's something about the Midwest sensibilities, I think, that kind of stays with you wherever you go. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like putting on an old sweater that fits well, and you like say, hey, this is great. You might be someplace else, but you're always going to pine for, you know, the things that give you comfort. It's comfort food. Chicago's comfort food for everybody. So it's good.
Hell yeah. We're almost at an hour, so I want to make sure that we wrap up with, you know, all the plugs and move some units, sell some ticks. I mean, May 27th is it's gonna this episode
Saturday, I think.
Yeah,
it'll come out before.
This will be out before, so when you're listening to this, you will be able to get tickets to the Chop Shop show.
Yes,
that's a really hard sentence to say, but the Chop Shop show.
You did it. You got it.
I love alliteration.
Despite your illness, you did a great job.
Yeah.
So
the weird thing is, we have I have a cold, but when we call it like ailments, and you keep asking about my health without the context of what was happening before the pod recording, everyone's like, "Oh no, this is the last episode."
Dying.
Right. I'd like to have that mystery, and you just destroyed it by letting everyone know.
The mystery because I'm worried about.
No, you never know though, because we can hang up on this call, and Brian's gonna like text me and be like, "Hey, so." That's where I am.
My dog smelled cancer. It sucks. You know.
that dog I was disparaging came in and warned me and saved my life, you know.
That's why I was barking the whole time. You weren't listening.
Right. Just to try to tell you. It's like, you have a bad mass. It's like,
you were on the phone with a doctor and you didn't do anything about it.
You know, I came to you in a vision.
In a video call.
And you just ignored me. And now look at you. Now you're, you know, on hospice. What the hell can you do? It's horrible. It's like horrible. It's like you went from there. But no, let's go back to what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So let's make sure we promote all the stuff. Where can people? The best place to support the band, to pick up the record. Is there a vinyl of it? We've talked a lot about vinyl.
Yes, there is.
People can get the vinyl.
Red Scare. Go to Red Scare's website, redscare.net. You can pick up the vinyl there. You can get CDs as well if you like the digital medium there. You can also go to the Red Scare Bandcamp or our Bandcamp and pick it up as well. You can listen to us on all the streaming services out there, you know, on the Spotify's, on the YouTube Music's, on the, you know, and wherever you want to listen to stream us, you can hear us. We have, like I said, the Chop Shop show coming up on the 27th in Chicago. So if you're in the area, come on out. If you're, you know, want to come up to Chicago and see us, that'd be great. It's going to be a great show. If you're going to be in Montreal over the weekend, you could, well, you're not going to see us. By the time this is out, we've already played the show.
They might be in the chat right now.
Yeah.
If you're in the chat, you know, but if you're watching this in the future, we just played in Montreal and it was an amazing show. Unless my plane goes down and then I'm talking to you from beyond the grave, which is horrible. So there you go. It's just a horrible thing. My kids are probably weeping right now. No, that's morbid. That was really morbid. I took this.
We just said Brian was about to be on hospice. I feel like we're really.
Yeah, where's the dog that prevents a plane crash? I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it's like,
can the pup fly the plane?
If I look over and the Big Bopper's on the plane, I'm like, oh my God, we got to get off this plane. Richie Valens and the Big Bopper.
Not the Big Bopper.
Let's get off this plane. No, and then we have a show we're playing in August in Rancho Cucamonga, California for our old label Dr. Strange. We're going to be doing a little show there, which will be awesome, August 12th. Keep your eye out for that. It'll be on our socials, you know, on our Instagram, on our Facebooks, on our Twitter. I guess we have to get a TikTok now since you mentioned it. I don't know anything about that.
Listen, Smoking Popes is on TikTok. I only knew that because they followed us. And I'm like, oh, they're on TikTok.
Man, so I got to call Josh about that and ask him, like, dude, how do you do this,
You're going to be like, I just got called out on the stream. What is going on?
I'm going to text him like, Josh, how do you do TikTok? Like, Daryl, you do this. I'm like, could you run our TikTok for us? Josh, just do that and just make it happen.
It's definitely going to be I don't know. I had my kid do it here. I don't know.
Right. I should have my kids do it. So we'll be playing August 12th in California. We will be doing some other shows around Chicagoland area. They're not announced yet from what I understand. We'll see. Who knows what's going to happen. But we are playing Fest at the end of the year. So get your tickets for Fest. Fest is awesome. I think the 3-day tickets just sold out, but they'll have other single-day tickets, I hope. And we're playing 2 sets at Fest, which is going to be awesome. One of the best festivals in the world. Who knows what else might be coming up? Who knows? There may be other things that pop up since we have this great new record out, Essential, that you have to pick up. That is garnering a lot of attention, and it's probably many people's album of the year. I'll tell you, it's great. If it's it should be in your top 10. I'm telling you, it's in the top 10. Probably in your top 5, maybe in your top 3. If I die, then definitely it's going to be in the number 1 because then
legally
things happen where you're like, oh, posthumous. This guy, he just died. He was a doctor. He was a great man, and then he's got this record, and this is a great work. He left this for us. His legacy is left in this thing. So I'm not going to mention that again. I think 3 times you say Candyman, he appears, and if you say 3 times about dying, it really happens. So, that's not a medical fact, by the way. I just made that up right now. So
that's okay.
Everything you say as a doctor is medical fact, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I trust you. Like, I feel like legally,
right. If I post it on TikTok, it's only real then. I think
that actually is correct.
I was about to say that tracks. If you were on TikTok and you because you have your FYP, so it's like tailored towards like you and your interests. Yeah. So since you're a doctor, and we were talking about way before when we just hopped on to like get everything set up, you're talking about like health and wellness. You would get on the side of TikTok, and I think you would just be like, all right, I know this is a punk band account, but now it's also a Dr. Health.
Right.
Debunking everything account.
Yes, health and wellness. And if your dog is barking at your neck, you may want to get a ultrasound of your thyroid. That kind of thing. Just that kind of stuff. Like, oh, my dog barks at me.
Well, you think your dog has something going on that they're trying to tell you?
Right.
They might be.
Right.
I think my dog wants treats and attention. And
when your dog wants treats.
Yeah.
When your dog wants treats.
Right.
God, that voice lives in my head. It's the worst thing in the world to me. It's just an awful voice. But we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this interview here. We're going to hang out on Twitch a little bit. We got a couple people who may have some Q's, and we have some A's for those Q's. I guess that's how you would say it. But if you're in the Chicago area, or if you're going to the Chicago area, Chop Shop, May 27th. If you're anywhere else in the world and you can't make it to Chicago, buy the record, buy the vinyl, sit with it, listen to it, experience it.
Lay on your floor and maybe cry to it if it compels you.
Right.
Is this a lay on the floor and cry record?
No, it's more of a jump up and smash things in your house record is what it kind of is. And you'll cry afterwards because then you have to pay for all that stuff you broke. Yeah. Then again, it's like, who cares? It's like all the material shit's broken anyway. Who cares about it? Just let it go.
It's okay. Aren't we as humans broken? So it's okay.
We all are. Yes. Our time's ticking away.
We're going to talk about Lizzie's medical issues off the recording now, apparently. We're going to go and hang out with everybody over on Twitch. But in the meantime, Daryl, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah. It was fun. Thanks.